would like to bring the Morongo Valley Community Services District special board meeting to open, the June 3rd meeting, 2020. And I could read, Jim, are there a lot of people in the special room that might want to give comments?
Yes. I mean, there's only 12 total attendees, including the board members.
Okay, well, let me read this. In an effort to keep all public input questions organized and to ensure that each person's input question is heard, please use the Google form that's on our website to ask a question or provide input. And it'll be turned over to us, and we'll, if we have the answer for it, we'll tell you, or if we need to put it on the next agenda, we can do that too. So, roll call, Mr. Yearsley.
Gail Swart.
Here.
Christina Brook.
Here.
Matthew Campos.
Here.
Lori Klimowitz.
Here.
Johnny Tolbert.
Here.
Okay, please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the
United States of America
and to the
republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great, thank you. Has everybody had a chance to look at the agenda and know what's on it?
Yes.
Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
It's the one Brittany sent, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm not sure I understand the date on the second paragraph at the top. The questions and comments will be read aloud during the May 27th meeting.
Yeah, that's a typo, I guess. Or,
yes, it needs to be changed to June 3rd. Okay.
Yeah.
Other than that, yeah, we're good.
Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second? I'll second it. I'll second it. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. So, are there any comments that need to be heard now before we start discussing this?
The only one that I saw submitted on Google Forms is the same one that we had from Mr. Kraus that we carried over, but I don't know if you want to save that for the June regular meeting.
Yes, we're going to save that for the June regular meeting.
That's the only one I saw, but I can check periodically during the meeting to see if anybody else gave
Thanks,
Google.
Christina. Okay, so this is a budget workshop for fiscal year 2020, 2021. And we did get the paperwork on that a little bit late. It was partially, I think Mr. Yearsley had it ready, but he didn't have the correct numbers from Bonnie, and so it did come a little late. I understand that. So
A little late? Excuse me. I'm sorry. We informed the manager to have it to us by Tuesday of last week, and I accepted Tuesday because Monday was a holiday. To say we're going to get a budget proposal 3 hours prior to a budget workshop is beyond a little late. It's unsatisfactory, is what it is.
okay. The only comment I have on that, Johnny, is that actually all the budgets, we got 3 separate budgets, and most of everything in the budget is the same as last year. There's only a few categories. May I finish, please? There's just a few categories that are different. And I mean, I got it the same time you did, and I was able to look through it this time. And on top of that, we're not going to make a decision tonight either. We're just going to talk about it. So I think with that, I would like Mr. Yearsley to explain to us what's different in the 3 budgets.
Okay, pretty much the 3 budgets, there's only a reason for those in a couple of categories. Everything else pretty much remained the same. Anything that was changed, there is a in the description line, as for in line 4310, where it talks about rents and concessions, where it went from last year at 6,000. We did not do that much last year, so we lowered the income amount down to 3,000 because we didn't get close to the 6,000. So any changes that we made to compensate on any one of the three, there is a notation in there. Now you'll get down to like 5249 in the training and safety area where it talks about equipment and expenses. There, we are still in negotiation on the MOU. So because there's not been any decisions made by the board, the MOU, we could not put any amounts in here that would be a change in the budget. So we'll have to work those after we get to that point, which that will be on the agenda in the June 17th meeting.
Right.
So there are more things that we'll be discussing than just the ones that are highlighted as need adjustment for the MOU, but we won't know what those are until we start discussing what we'll do in the closed session. We did have a reduction in the communications amount, which is written in there, of 183.96. So that changed that line item a little bit. And then if you go on down, the changes that pretty much, yes.
Could you please say the line number each time?
That's what I was doing. That's the 5227 for the communications.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, then on where most of the changes causing to have a 1, 2, and 3 is for that duty officer that we're gonna have to be having on the weekends is a duty officer, and at nights for the 14 hours. Whoever it be, we did, Bonnie did the calculations on the difference in using a stipend and the difference in an hourly wage. So we did it at a minimum wage, and that's on number 1 on the backside on number 5207. It's on the first or top of the second page. And the calculations are in there for if we paid out at a minimum wage, and there's four 14-hour days plus 3 24-hour shifts. And the 4 didn't print on that very well. It has a 2, but those are 24-hour shifts on the weekends. That amount on the number 1 budget was $81,900 to be able to cover all of those days and hours.
At the minimum wage.
At the minimum wage.
Okay.
If you want, I can give you the stipend amount so you could know what the difference would be if you want.
Yeah,
But that's when we get to the number 2. What's that,
Yeah.
Lori?
Yeah, that's on the 4th page on number 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's wait for that.
Yes, okay, so then the payroll taxes were down $29.56. Let's see, then we got the workers' comp was down 4,100, and that, Lori, is 5215.
Thank you.
That was 4,189. That was a reduction of 24.45%, which it was a big drop for us in workman's comp, which was great.
Was there a reason for that?
The only thing that Bonnie and I kind of talked about, the only thing I can think of is we're getting distance away from a settlement that we had before I got here.
Good.
So the farther we get away, the more, and without any other claims, big claims, then it will drop as we go.
Yeah, right.
We never have claims.
Okay, so then this is what I think we're gonna have to do. I mean, the board can decide here. This is the amount for the reserves. We talked about running 4 people on the truck last year, and in order to have money to be able to do this year's budget, we are not gonna be able to have 4 people on the truck. So we're gonna have to reduce, in my mind, I mean, that's up to the board. In my mind, I put it down here as reducing to 1 reserve a day instead of 2. That changes it from what it would have been if we stayed at 2, 72,000. So right now we're at 36,500 to have 1 reserve a day. Okay, then The EMS coordinator, we had an EMS coordinator that was donating his time, and he took on some other jobs that he was getting paid for, so he was not able to do that anymore. So therefore, that EMS coordinator, we're going to use one of our paramedics, which can be done. We talked with ISMA, and they've checked everything out, and they've agreed to it. And that amount will come in at $10,000 for the year. It was 21. What's that?
I have a quick question.
Go
The
ahead.
line before 5230, you said we were coming from 76,000, lowering it by 10,000, went to 36,000. Well, my sheet only shows 46,000. So
Well,
where'd you get the
when we did the budget last year, Johnny, we did it to do a reserve during the week of just one, and then we were going to put 2 on the weekends. So that's at when we did the budget, and then we changed from there and went to 2 reserves on the truck. And we pulled the money from somewhere else. But this is just what we had budgeted last year. And once we did the final budget, we didn't change that number. We just pulled it from another area, which brought it in. We were at, just a second. Let me get the right amount here for you. Trying to find the column for the 5230. Okay, so 5230, right now at this year, we're sitting at 67,000 with the reserves we run, but that also adds on what we did for the pandemic, having the extra on for the squad, and we're supposed to get reimbursed from the XBO on that. So that's what we've totally spent this year, but it
But we
would come in
budgeted-
at just double at 36. You know, it's 36,500 each person we put on a year. So we just couldn't afford to do it with all the other things coming on, and that's why it comes down. And last year we had budgeted for 1 5 days a week and 2 on 2 days of the week. So that's where we got the 46,800.
Okay.
So our actual number is 67 right now, right?
Yes, we were, yes, for right now, we are at the 67,038.46.
Okay.
And that's because of extra things that we've had to go do.
Yes, we ran an extra person on the squad all the way through for the COVID thing when we had to send them out alone.
Oh,
They
got
didn't
it.
want to send the engine out on all those.
Got it.
Right.
Okay,
Okay.
then let's see. Let me get back to where I was at.
EMS coordinator, 5232.
Yeah, okay, so that was 10, we had to put in 10,000. That gives them about 8 hours a week to work on that, doing the EMS coordinator's job.
Okay.
Then we dropped down to 5002, the administrative. That's at the 40 hours. That's for bringing in a general manager, and that's where the general manager and the chief are separate positions. Okay, that's 41,600 now, where it was 21,840. Okay, then you drop down to support staff, which is the people in the office. That
What number is it?
That
what
is
number?
5,003.
Okay.
Okay, and that is 25 hours per week to, instead of 2 people, we have 1, and they'll cover all the stuff that the 2 people were covering before. And then the next one is workers' comp. Talked about the reduction in that of 24.45. So the GM's benefits would be the 6,000, or were 6,099, and now we're putting in 7,359.
Question.
Okay,
On support staff, you say we're taking one person out. Why?
because we won't, we're gonna run without them just because we need to cut down on hours. We gotta try and run things cheaper. I mean, right now, the budget's not even close to being in, so we gotta cut, and that's the only place we can cut. So the general manager will have to take on the extra or the responsibilities of what the other person was doing. I mean, that, of course, again, goes to you guys to make the decision, but this is just my proposal to try to bring it in line. Insurance was, let's see, the liability insurance, general insurance is up. It's up to $31,950 from $22,757.
Wow, how come it went up so high?
Um,
Got any idea?
No,
Is that SBRMA?
no, that's her liability.
Which is SDRMA?
Well, yeah, it's SDRMA, but it's not the coverage of the other stuff. But yeah, our liability
Yeah,
for all the parks and the rec and everything.
right.
Okay, and then the copier lease for the copier, so we could, because ours broke down, it added about $560 more to have the new copier. So that's total for the year $1,560 instead of $1,000 that we had before.
Okay.
And then the election, the register of voters expense, I'm not sure how this year is going to work out. Bonnie pulled up all the ones from before. We had one at 5,500, we had one at 3,300, and then the last year was about 280. So we put 3,000 down because we don't know how they're going to do the election this year, whether it be, coming in to vote in the NPR or if it's going to be done,
Mail-in?
Yeah. Okay, then down at the bottom for expenses on 5401 will be up, let's see.
5401.
We took that off. 5401 was for grants, writing grants and stuff. We took that off because we still have $20,000 in restricted funds, which we'll use to help bring the budget down for this year.
Okay.
Okay, and then, then that leaves us at a deficit of $49,795 on that budget running that way. Then if you go to budget number 2.
Hold on a minute. Okay, that was number 1. All right.
That was number 1. Let me change to the 2. The only changes in 2 would be on the second page at the top when we talk about duty officer again. And if we do not pay them hourly, if we don't pay a minimum wage, we pay them a stipend, which these guys will be staying at home and only coming in as needed. The stipend would be for the 14 hours, 4 days, 24 hours for 3 days. It's only $44,200 that way.
So that's almost $40,000 less.
Yes.
Okay,
And go ahead.
Gary, do you mean that they're hanging out at home 14 hours, just being available 14 hours a day?
Yes, Lori, they are at home on call. So they virtually have to be ready to leave at a moment's notice as soon as they would get a tone out or a page, which would come over their phone. And so they would have to have their car, truck, whatever, loaded, ready to go to be here within the hour period of time that we have.
And
that's only on large instance, residential fires, structure fires, big wildland fires, stuff like that.
big car accidents?
Yeah, anything that's a large accident or any call, any scene that turns out.
I hope it happens on one of the days that they're being paid for.
No, well, there's more than one person, isn't there, Gary?
Oh, yeah, yes. right away, we would have 2, and I'm hoping to go to 3. In fact, I've already talked to 3 that would possibly be available, but not all of them like tomorrow type thing. It's just we've got to, I couldn't set them up with it because it has to be decided by the board what we're going to do.
Right.
And then we'd have to set up a contract with them for that.
Okay.
Yeah, and Christina and I have been talking to an attorney who knows workman's law, and we can ask about if they have to be paid minimum wage, because I think someone had a question about that we have to pay them minimum wage, that we can't put them on a stipend. So we'll have to check into that, huh, Christina?
Yes, that's,
Excuse me, did we hire a new attorney and I wasn't informed of this?
No, we didn't
Then
hire.
what
a
are
new
you
attorney.
doing talking to an attorney about district business? That has to come through the board. That does not go through you and Christina. If you are talking district business to an attorney, you're talking to Steve Kennedy, or you're bringing it back to the board first. What is going on?
We are not, this was just a person who is an attorney who donated their time for a couple questions we had. It was no charge to the district. There hasn't been any charge to the district. And there were a couple things we wanted to talk to that attorney about, and a CPA about Gary's compensation. And Christina happened to know somebody that would do it for free for these couple questions we had. And we worked with Bonnie on it too.
If you're getting legal advice for this district, we are to know about it. The board, not 2 individuals, not 1 individual. Legal advice to this district is to the board.
We can provide you with that information.
Yeah,
We'll
we'll
We'll provide you that information. That's no problem.
Right.
If we are allowed to do that at this agenda, we can, or we can do it at another time.
No,
It
it'll
was,
have to be on.
It was to talk about Gary's agreement, so we were acting as our ad hoc committee. And we got a recommendation from our bookkeeper to make sure we talk to a labor attorney to make sure that the agreement was all in place correctly. So we can answer those questions after the budget meeting, I guess. I mean, I don't know if we can do that on this agenda. Or
No,
if
we'll
it's
have it on,
June
we'll put
agenda.
it on next month.
Okay.
okay, so in 2, doing it that way with doing a stipend, it actually puts us just over budget $2,501. Okay, so
I guess
that's,
what we could say though, in terms of why this got brought up just this second, is because of the minimum wage issue. And in terms of the settlement, we found out that we do not have to worry about the minimum wage because the settlement is one lump agreement. And so we aren't held to the minimum wage law on that. So that is why Gail was just saying about minimum wage. We did not, of course, ask her, because this is a new question,
Right.
about stipends, if stipends can be below minimum wage. I used to do a lot of stipended work and it was way below minimum wage. It looks like to me, when you do the calculation of 44,200 and divide it by 365 days in the year, it looks like you're going for a stipend of about $120 a day or something like that.
Is that right, Gary?
give me that figure again so I can match
Well,
it.
I was saying, if you took 44,200 and you
Right.
divide it by 365 days that you need coverage, it seems like the stipend would be $120 a day, something like that,
Yeah, the stipend actually,
or a shift.
the idea of the stipend is on the weekends, on the 24-hour shifts, it's $150, and on the weekdays that it's 14 hours, it'd be $100 a shift.
Oh, okay.
And
so
that's
it's a
how it
combo.
works out exactly.
So it's a combo of 100.
Yeah, because the hours are less.
Okay. So if the board wants us to ask a labor person, a labor attorney, we can do that. I don't know if I'll ever be able to continue getting free information, But she did assure us that with Gary's settlement, because remember when we did the settlement, we calculated first for our numbers at $25 an hour, but then Gary reduced it by 66%. So then we were down at like $8.45 an hour. And so we wanted to make sure that that was allowable. And Bonnie recommended that we talk to a labor attorney, and she said it is allowable for it to only be $8.45 because it's a lump sum agreement.
And we would not have talked to an attorney that was going to charge the district. Yes, of course, we would bring it to the district, but as the ad hoc committee, we're just getting information, and that was part of what we needed to do for that. But we would never go out and pay somebody money from district funds before we would come to the board with it.
Yeah, we just wanted to make sure because we were on the tail end of that agreement. And when we looked at it, it was brought up that, wow, that amount that Gary was willing to reduce was less than minimum wage, and is that all right? And fortunately, we found out it is okay.
If
So
that was going to happen, it should have been brought to the board because you're talking about changing the settlement.
We're
No,
not
we're
talking
not.
about changing the
No,
settlement.
no, we're not.
Let me finish, please. I didn't interrupt you.
Okay.
If you were talking to an attorney to check on whether we had to change the settlement based on minimum wage, that should have come to the board. Because what
Well,
you
if
just
it was,
please.
yeah, you're right. You're right, Johnny. If it was, we would.
Wait,
Christina,
Christina,
let me
let
finish
him-
talking, please.
Yes, let
What
Johnny
you
speak.
just said is once we made an agreement, then you took it to an attorney and said, oh, were we legal with minimum wage? That should
Because
be
it was
coming
brought
from
to
the
our
board.
attention by the bookkeeper.
Christina, wait till he
Oh,
finishes.
sorry. It sounds like he's stalling. I mean, it's pausing.
Just,
Am I-
yeah, oh, okay.
internet.
Because you are not talking about possibly changing that amount. That comes to the board.
No, we weren't, though.
An attorney without talking to the board first.
No, we were not
No.
talking about changing the amount at all. We were just asking a fact. We were just asking a plain and simple fact. Can an agreement be below minimum wage? And the answer is yes. We didn't say, and we're going to recalculate it. It was just something that Bonnie and we were like going, uh-oh. When we looked at the discounted rate, which everybody saw that was handed out, it was like $8.45 an hour. And so in doing our due diligence, we said, uh-oh, wait a minute, that's under minimum wage. Is that okay? And we just went to find out if that, as a fact, if it's okay. We didn't go renegotiate. And if we had to, like if we were going to be outside the law, then we would have had to bring it back to an agenda. But luckily we found out we're doing it all completely, perfectly right.
Okay, let's move on.
The board.
So is
Madam President,
Okay,
Yes.
let's finish.
Bonnie has a question she wants to.
okay.
I just wanted to clarify, what I brought to the board was employer taxes, not minimum wage. What I brought to Christina and Gail was employer taxes and the way we were counting.
Correct.
It's not the issue of whether or not minimum.
Right.
Say
And,
that
and we
again.
looked at it and we said, uh-oh, it says $8.45 when he discounted it. So we need to make sure we were within the law, and we are. So awesome. We found that out for free. We're not changing the agreement. We're not doing anything. We just went out to get a fact.
Christina, that's not what
Yes.
Bonnie just said. You're talking minimum wage. Bonnie says she's talking taxes. So what?
There were actually a lot of issues. There were actually taxes issues and so forth. But we went out, we did our due diligence, we found out we're acting within the law. And so we should be all grateful that that didn't cost us any money to find that out, that we're within the law. And so as we're talking about this budget, and we're talking about stipends that would be also below the minimum wage, that's why that got brought up. So now we'd have to ask the labor attorney, is it okay if stipends are below the minimum wage?
Okay. Is there another,
There's more for me to go over still.
okay, yeah, go ahead.
All right, so on the number 2, we finished that one, and that one left with over budget 2,501. So when we go to number 3, it's with the minimum wage duty officer at 81,900 and with a separate chief and general manager at the 41,000 amount. So that would that puts us at 28,253. Now
Did I feel that? Did you feel the earthquake?
Yep,
Honest to God, there was just an earthquake.
yeah, there was.
Oh, I didn't feel that.
Question here, Gary.
Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt, but that was kind of weird.
Yeah, that was an earthquake.
I have
Okay.
a question.
Yes, Johnny.
You were saying separate chief and general manager, but on my number 3, this is a combo position. So you said number 3 has
Just a minute.
separate positions, where my number 3 has them together.
Okay, just a minute, okay?
840.
Oh, yeah, it does.
Yeah, okay, so you're right. Up here it is the combo position. I was still had number 2 up here. I'm sorry. So number 3 is the 21,840 combo position, which is changes that and then brings it to 28,253. And this was number 3, and that has the minimum wage duty officer instead of the stipend. So that's the only changes in all 3 of them where they're different. So that's
Okay. I have some
that's what Johnny was saying. He's right. It's combo position. I just still had number 2 in here.
Okay, I have some questions. We
Yeah.
need to go back to the first page of all 3 budgets.
Okay, just a second.
Okay.
And also, I think we need a 4th budget, which
Yes.
would be stipend, duty officer, and combo.
Yes, if you do that, I do have that number for you. That's where I was going to go next.
Oh, okay.
If you have a stipend duty officer with the combo position, it puts us under budget of 9,447. So that's the way that we have left over is with combo position and a stipend duty officer.
What would the total be, Gary?
The total for which item?
The whole total, like the total for number 1 is 877,817. The number 2 is 830,523. And the number 3 is 856. So I'm wondering what, if it was a stipend, a duty officer, and a combo, what would it be, that number, the bottom line number?
Okay, so just a second.
I didn't feel the earthquake over here.
I didn't either.
I'll look it up. It was a pretty good one.
Yeah, I was here
Yeah.
too.
At first I thought it
Did
was
you-
my chair, but then everything was wiggling.
I didn't
Matthew,
feel
did you
anything
feel
either.
it? No.
Oh, yeah, my whole table went like it was gonna fall over.
Did you
And
feel it,
Sonny was
Ivan?
yelling- Sonny was yelling from the other room, did you feel that? Okay. We're calculating, are we?
Yeah, I'm getting it.
Okay.
So it's 846, 828, which puts it under budget of 9,447. So we would have that much left over we could use either in the MOUs or somewhere else where we need to.
Could you give us the number one more time? I'm sorry.
Yeah, 846, 828.
Okay.
And then how much was it over?
Over budget of, or not over budget, it would still
Under.
under of 9,447.
So it's the only one that's under budget.
That's not right.
Okay, we need to go back to the first
Yeah.
page.
Am I
Under,
correct?
compensation.
Okay, just a minute.
The fourth option is the only one under budget?
Yes,
Okay. Make
the
sure I'm
others were all
understanding.
over. But just a minute.
Do they all include the change in the minimum wage in January?
Yes, everything she figured was with the minimum wage
Okay.
change, not at what we're at now.
Okay.
Okay, the earthquake was a 5.1 epicenter Ridgecrest at 6:32.
Okay, Ridgecrest again.
Yeah, 5.1.
Boy, those people really are on a fault line.
I guess it goes through Lori and my house, but not your.
I guess. I don't know. I didn't feel it. So where are you figuring, Gary? Or
Yeah,
are we? Yeah. Okay.
and one more thing here.
Okay. Got it.
And then Johnny wants to go on page 1.
On the county website, they're like, what do you
Right.
think on the first time passing grades? Yes. I would recommend taking it at a community college and not the accelerated class. Take the classes that are so it doesn't look very important.
Okay, so with the two figures of the stipend for the duty officer and the combo general manager, the figure is 823,577.
823.
823,577 to put it 9,447
Okay.
under budget.
All right. So what was the 846?
That's the one with the minimum wage and the
Got it.
combo. So that
Got
was, that's not what Johnny asked me for. I gave him the different one, and then when I looked at that, included the wage instead of the stipend.
Okay, so the 823 includes the stipend.
Yes, for the duty officers, yes.
Okay.
Okay, so then Johnny wants to go back to number 1.
Okay.
Page 1 on all 3 of them.
Yeah, that's fine. I got them all here. Just,
Johnny, can
What
you
line?
tell us what line you're looking at? 'Cause sorry, I was checking the earthquake thing out.
I'm starting in compensation, 5203 through 5207. We made a
Gotcha.
lot of major changes there. Let's see,
52.
Wait a minute. 52.
5203 to
Oh, I see.
5207. The very
When
bottom
I
of the
printed
page.
out on mine, it's on the bottom of page 1.
Oh, yeah.
Then the very bottom of page 1 on all 3 of them. Should be.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay.
So you're saying we're going to increase paramedic pay by 45,000. We're going to lower engineer pay by 40,000. We're going to give a raise to captain for 3,900, and we're going to totally remove the battalion chief for 42,000.
well, we didn't remove it. We put that in as the duty officer stuff. That it's not, that's not a one figure. We had to use that money as duty officer. So it's just called a duty officer now, which is going to be battalion chief's job. But we had to add in the others, so we couldn't use that same column. So it just moves to the next page at the top. That's why it's not renumbered for the stipend or the hourly wage duty officer. So what happened is the 83,351 when we did the budget was for 2 paramedics. We now have 3 paramedics. And then the engineers is the 3 engineers and then, or 2 engineers and the 1 captain. So 3 paramedics, 2 engineers, and a captain is what we have for full time.
Oh, yeah, I see. Yeah, I see.
So that's why I had to move around.
So are you saying that line 5204, when you reduce it by 40,622, that is just for the 2 engineers, and now the captain's separated out on line 5206?
Yes, last year, the captain was separated out also, but he was also a paramedic. This year, we're not running the captain as a paramedic because he just has too much to do both jobs. So
I
the
see.
captain now is only doing a captain's job. The engineers are just doing an engineer job, and then we have 3 paramedics.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay, you just said the captain's doing engineer and captain's job, so which is it?
He's doing, no, I didn't say he's doing engineer. I said our 2 engineers are doing the engineer's job, a captain's doing the captain's job. An engineer runs the shift and the captain runs the shift also. So we used him as a captain to have somebody in charge of the crew over there. So that's why we made 1 captain. He is in charge of the shift just as the engineers are the days they're on. So we have to have a 3-day or 3 rotation shift. 2 of them will be an engineer and 1 of them will be a captain.
And the captain does the engineer job?
No, okay, so yes, he does, but he's in charge of that shift.
Right,
It just
okay.
gives the captain in the station. But on
Got it.
shift, he is in charge of that shift on scene.
Okay,
And then the paramedics, we have just paramedics that run as paramedics. So they're not trying to run a scene and be a paramedic.
right. Oh, yeah, okay.
Okay,
So our
Johnny,
budget
next
was-
one.
Okay. So our budget was for 2 paramedics, and now, and now it's going to be 3 paramedics.
Yeah, it's always been 3, but we tried to do a captain paramedic split to help with what we were doing. So when Murphy and Dusty Sundahl was here and Chavez, those were our 3 engineers. But if you remember, Murphy came back after the budget last year, so it added us an engineer. So we had to move one of them, and we moved a paramedic to the captain to free up the position that we brought Murphy back to. Anyway, it's very confusing, but now it's worked out to where you have your 3 in charge of each shift, A, B, and C, and you have a paramedic that's slated for A, B, and C also.
And then
And
one
then
reserve. And 1 reserve. So then that's the 3-0 staffing you're talking about then.
Yes. For upcoming, yes.
May I ask a question?
Yeah.
Is it not permissible for a captain to be the duty officer?
At a captain level 2, you have they take captains, and if you move them up to a level 2, they run them as that. And it's not a problem that way, but where you find a problem is on scene. It's nice to have your person in charge of a duty officer to wear your white helmet so everybody identifies him with in charge of the scene.
But
So
we
that's
don't,
why we try to make them a somewhat of a chief's rank of some kind, so they're in a white helmet when they're on scene trying to do their job.
well, if I'm not mistaken, in years past, we haven't had a separate position of duty officer.
Correct.
And we've had 2 captains before that were duty officers.
Correct.
And they were quite capable of handling the situation. Personally, I would much rather see us move the money into building up our staffing and not being a separate position for duty officer, because if we weaken our staffing, then we're not going to be capable of being eligible or available for strike teams. And it's strike teams that are going to be the ones that are going to help bolster our shortfalls.
A strike team can be run by an engineer even if you need be. And
Yes, but my question is, and my concern is that if we don't have sufficient staff, that is dependable and reliable, they're not going to call us for strike teams. And so I would much rather see us providing better service to our community and bolstering our staffing appropriately, taking that $81,900 and getting some more captains so that we had sufficient frontline staff to provide safety and security for our community, that we had capable people to be duty officers, because captains can do it. They don't have to be a level 2. And then we're going to be sufficiently staffed for responding to first requests for strike teams.
Okay, well, couple of problems there. Number one, you got a $4 an hour difference. You got benefits difference, and you got workman's comp difference. You got a lot of stuff difference that you would have to add. So it's not just put them in, it's a substantial amount of money to add them as a in the station type person, because of your benefits, your days off, your all that is going to add up a lot more than that figure. And I don't really see an issue with us still doing strike teams and stuff, because we can do emergency hires without any problem at all and bring in people to run those. I just think that like some of your comments about us not doing strike teams last year, we did $75,000 last year, and you said Yermo beat us. Yermo did $5,000 last year. So the figures are, we're doing them. We're doing more than most places are doing, and we'll make sure we stay on top of them.
Wasn't having a duty officer part of the MOU that we have in place? I thought that was a big contention, Matthew. You were there at those meetings, I think.
Yes, it is.
And they didn't want their captains to be duty officers.
No, that's not true. That's not true. They had no problem with the duty officers, with the captains being duty officers. What they can't do is they can't be an engineer and be a duty officer, because engineers have got so much responsibility. But the captains were quite capable, and that is part of their job description, is to be the duty officer. That's one reason you have.
Why did we get rid of them? Because we didn't have the money. That's how we have come forward in the last few years. The board decided that we couldn't afford to have captains that that are only overseeing the scene or overseeing the station. We just don't have enough money for that, I don't think.
Yeah, and also when you're talking about 81,900, that would be the minimum wage duty officer, not the proposal number 2, which is saying that we'd have a stipended duty officer, which would bring it down to 44,200.
I don't think we should be looking at the stipend duty officer till we get more legal on that, because I know in the past, just with the reserves we have on stipend, there's been issues. I know Mrs. Miller brought it up to me more than once that we could have issues with just our reserves on stipend. So now we're talking about making a stipend duty officer. I think we need to be getting more legal information on that first before we start talking about stipends. We could be in some issues with that.
Yeah, that's a good point. So we should do our due diligence, and we should look into that. And it would behoove us probably to have a labor attorney that is very familiar with that kind of stuff.
It would be a good idea.
Yeah, so that's a really good idea, Johnny.
Yep.
Okay, and Chief, I would like to just summarize. If we have this set up with the 3 paramedics, 2 engineers, and 1 captain, does that necessarily mean we may not be called out on strike teams? Is that really something they would take into consideration?
No, because we're going to have guys ready for the strike team stuff. That's just for coverage for now. And then as the strike teams come up, we will have, people that we can emergency hire, as many as we want. It's already in our policies to be able to do that.
Okay.
So we will have people available that can come in on that. And I talked to Captain Gorder about it today. So we made sure that we were gonna have people ready, just as we've got our engine in right now, getting ready to get all of the maintenance and all of the warranty stuff done. So we get people ready to go on the strike teams also.
Okay.
We
Any other
do more of the
questions?
strike team stuff than any of the other people around. We do more than Yermo does. We do more than Daggett, Newberry. We do more than any of the ones around strike team wise. And station standby.
Are there any other questions, board members?
I am
Anybody have-
concerned with item 4310, rents and concessions.
You're talking about the revenue part, Johnny?
Yes, it's item 4310, rents and concessions.
I
Yeah,
see
I know we put 6,000 in last year. I think putting 3,000 is too high due to the fact that we haven't even figured out yet if we're gonna finish that kitchen or not. We're not gonna be renting it out till we finish the kitchen. So to even think we're gonna make $3,000, I think is unrealistic.
Well, last year, Johnny, that we did that much, so that's why I put it in. We did 28, 34, 29. So that's doing it what we did last year. So starting in June, I'm guessing the board will reopen the park and stuff coming up in the next few months. So I can't see us saying we'll do lower. So that's why I put it in at that dollar amount. I lowered it 3,000 because we were that much below.
Reason why I'm saying I think we should lower it is part of that was rentals because we had the kitchen available to rent. We do not have the kitchen available to rent.
We didn't
So
rent it. We didn't rent it last year though, Johnny.
Yeah,
Okay.
most of the, it seemed to me that most of the rentals for weddings and memorials, they were catered affairs and they never used the kitchen. They just wanted the pavilion and the park.
Okay.
Is that correct, Gary?
That is correct. We didn't rent the kitchen at all. Anybody that used it brought in their stuff already pre-ready to go and didn't use any of the facilities. So this was all rentals of the pavilion, the NPR, and the mesquite room.
I'm okay with Johnny's suggestion to lower it if we want to lower it to only 2,800 instead of 3,000 to be more in line with what was actual.
And also it occurs to me that some of that might have to do with our mentality right now with the COVID, and we don't know what's going to happen. So lowering it a little more is okay with me too.
There's no problem with me. We can lower it.
You want to lower it to 28?
Johnny.
I was gonna say 25 myself, but percentage at 28, I'm flexible on that.
Do you want to do 25?
That would be my recommendation, yes.
All right, I'm good with that.
Me too.
Madam President,
Yes.
Bonnie has a question.
Okay, Bonnie?
On your rents and concessions, I'm looking at the detail. Most of that was the art colony and the NA rentals and celebrations of life. So a lot of those things, if they go back, they will be the same, but that's the bulk of what it was. That does include art colony and the NA meetings.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank
and
you.
the other thing is, the budget that you're seeing the worksheets from is an entire Excel document. If you're looking at additional staffing patterns, if any of the board members would like the Excel document, it includes the spreadsheets for different scenarios on wages and rates of pay and positions that would make it easy to look through their own scenarios. So if the board would like that, I can send out the Excel documents for people to make their own calculations.
I would like that myself.
Yeah, can you send them to us all, Bonnie?
Yes, and Lori, I'll need a different email from you because the only one I had in file was the CSD, the morongovalley.org. So if I can get that email address.
Okay. Do you want it right now?
Yeah, if you want to give it to me now, that's fine.
It's the same as my tax one. It's Al Klimowitz at roadrunner.com.
Okay. I'll update
Right.
my stuff on that, but I'll send that out to everyone so they have the Excel document.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bonnie. Any other questions?
Well, I just want to say I'm encouraged that we do have an option that can bring us in under budget. So I'm mostly looking at that one right now because it'll bring us in under budget, which is number 4, stipend to duty officer and the combo GM
Right.
fire chief. But it's well taken, Johnny, that we need to talk to whoever the board wants us to talk to, a labor attorney, to find out about the minimum wage issue. Because we're obviously very, what's the word? We're very cognizant of that.
Right.
Yeah, I just don't want us to get in any trouble with these stipends and wind up having a balloon payment somewhere down the line because we just didn't have
Right.
everything correct.
Are you comfortable with me going to the lady that I talked to for free? Or do you want to go and get bids or something for 3 labor attorneys?
I'm okay with you talking to an attorney that you know at this time. Because like I said, as long as we're notified. That was my
Okay.
whole thing. If we're gonna be doing things that could lead to us making decisions, we need to know about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it wasn't to make a decision. It was just a fact find. So you okay with me asking her? She's her undergrad's at Berkeley, her degree's at Loyola. Her husband is a Superior Court criminal judge. She handles the civil side. And I found her to be quite knowledgeable on labor issues.
And
So
if
I'll
she-
try to see if I can get one more freebie out of her,
Yeah.
free question.
And again, this is for the ad hoc committee's information, nothing
Right.
to change.
That's right.
Yeah, nothing to change. It's just a fact finding. So, but I can ask her.
Okay.
I was lucky enough because it's my financial planner's referral, and Michelle and I have been friends for 40 years, so I got a freebie, and that's always good.
So are we gonna need another meeting before we have the what is it called, Johnny? The budget?
We need to have a meeting to pass the preliminary budget, which we can't pass tonight. We have questions. Once we pass the preliminary budget, then we have to have a meeting where we do an open public hearing. We have
A
to,
hearing.
once we
Yeah.
pass the preliminary budget, we have to print it out and leave it in the office for the public to go read and have a chance to go over it. And then we have to open public hearing where they get to ask us anything they want about the budget. And once we have the open public hearing, answer all their questions, then we can approve a final budget. So we still have 2 steps left.
And I want to clarify that this attorney is not my friend. I got a referral from my friend of 40 years, who's my financial planner, just so you know. She, they actually gave me 3 people, but I started with the one lady and she just answered it. Open, done, gone, done.
Okay. So does this mean that we need to have one more meeting? Do we have to pass it at the June meeting, Gary?
Here's the thing, and I'm sure Johnny will back me on this. Last year, one of the points was that we were thinking of doing it in a special meeting, and you cannot
Right.
do this in a special. So if we don't have it ready by the 17th for that meeting, then we're gonna have to wait clear to the next month to July to final it. So
Gary,
we do have to get, like Johnny said, we gotta go get all this information together, and everybody has to do a final kind of decision on what they want to do and talk. And then we go into what he was saying, and it has to be finalized in a regular board meeting.
Yes.
Gary,
Yeah,
have you contacted the county and the state for an extension on our dates to have this turned in? Because I know we can have it turned in after July 1st. We just have to notify the county and state of it.
yes, we can do that too. We just tell them that we've had some issues that we had to look at. And then, of course, they like it in June, but we can do it in the July meeting, which puts it, let's see, on the 15th of July.
So we need to contact county and state and do the request for the extension.
Unless,
We
unless,
We either have to do
unless-
that or have another meeting next week. One of
Yeah,
We're
the
not
other.
right.
gonna be prepared. There's no way we can do a open public hearing. We have to give them more than 7 days to go over the budget.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. We
No.
can do it in July.
oh, I see what you're saying. Okay,
Well,
All
since it's due by July 1st, we can let the county and state know that we're gonna be turning in slightly late. Just because we have issues we have to take care of. So we can't do it, we can't have a final budget before July 15th. That's just impossible at this point.
okay, so we will put this on the agenda for the June, what is it?
17.
June
For
17th,
June
that's what we're
17th.
doing.
And hopefully we'll have all of the questions that were brought up tonight. We'll have answers for them all. And then we can make a decision then of how we want to go about doing this.
At that meeting, we're gonna have to approve a preliminary budget.
Yes,
If we
right.
don't approve a preliminary budget, then we're moving it back, turning into August. So we have, we're on a time schedule.
Yes, we will do it. Let's all of us say that we will work together to do it at that meeting, to come up with the preliminary budget. We'll hopefully have all the answers that we need to have.
Is the
And-
only question hanging fire right now, pardon the expression, stipend and duty officer at minimum wage? Uh-oh, I thought I just heard an earthquake. Oh, that was you. We're on the TV. I'm on TV.
We need to make sure all our stipends period are cleared up.
Yeah.
I know. Bonnie
Is that
put
the
me in
only
touch with
question we have right now?
I
To
think
clear
so.
up?
I mean, Matthew asked if we could have captains again that are duty officers, but I thought the reason that we decided to eliminate that position was because we couldn't afford it. And that's why we went the way we went. So, and the other thing that I'm really worried about is the fact that because of the COVID-19, that we might not be getting the amount of money that we're supposed to get because people won't be able to pay their taxes because they don't have any jobs. So,
Gail,
yeah,
I actually brought that up to Bonnie because she does my taxes also. And I was discussing it with her. And her explanation is that the state will honor whatever we're supposed to get. And then if they have to collect their taxes later, people have to pay their fines and penalties. But we will get our money, according to what Bonnie told me.
okay. Well, that's good news.
Yeah, because that was also a major concern I had. That's why I asked her about it before we had this meeting, because that was a concern I was thinking about. It was with people having trouble getting money income, well, we got trouble getting our income. She told me
Right.
no.
So
Madam President, I have Bonnie has some input.
Okay, Bonnie, you're up.
Okay, so the property taxes, we get an amount from the county. We probably won't know what that is until February, March of next year. So the property taxes are assessed on the properties. They're going to be paid eventually. So if we don't get it in this next budget year, we'll eventually get those back, property taxes. Every payment that we get every time includes current property taxes and arrearages. So when you have a parcel that goes to land sale that hasn't paid for 5 years, in the year that it sells, those property taxes are all going to be collected and we're going to get our percentage. So at this point, mortgage companies pay the property taxes regardless of whether their people are making their payments. And the individuals, we've received all of our property taxes through April. So the next property tax payment is not due until December. So,
Right.
We won't be short. We shouldn't necessarily be short because people don't make their payments, because we're always collecting arrearages as well.
Are we? Does that include the fire tax or the
Correct, the
assessment?
same thing. We
Same
get,
thing, okay.
every tax payment includes suppression and it includes the property taxes.
Okay,
And so we'll eventually get our money. It might not be this year, but eventually when those back property taxes are paid and people are back to work, we're going to get them. So if they don't pay them in December, we're going to get it when they pay it in April. So
okay,
property taxes are assessed. The number will not go down unless property values go down.
got it.
Thank you for
Bonnie.
clarifying, Bonnie.
So let's say we could get the answer about the stipended duty officer by Friday. The Zoom meeting was the audio was wiggly for me. Did you guys say we have to have 7 days out to notify the public of the next time we look at this?
No, what I was saying is, if we were to do the meeting next week with all these answers to put a preliminary budget together, we could not turn back around and say 7 days from that we were going to do an open public hearing. We have not given the public enough time to actually take the budget and go over it. That's normally 30 days.
What does the
That's what
law
you-
say about how much time? we
So
have
that's
to
why
give
you
them?
do it from one regular meeting to the next regular meeting. And it can only be done in a regular meeting. We can't do a final budget, an open public hearing in a special session. That can only be done in a regular meeting. So we have to give the public
Okay.
time to actually go over the budget once we approve a preliminary budget.
So,
Yeah, well, that's what Christina was asking.
so I'm just asking for a timeline. So if we could get the answer by Friday, could we have a meeting by what? Are you saying we have to give the public 10 days notice?
First off, how long is it gonna take us to get in the paper? Normally it's 30 days. From the time that we approve the preliminary budget, we go to our very next meeting and we do our final budget. And when we do a final budget, we have to do by law the open public hearing. The open public hearing must be noticed in the paper. And I believe it's the 2 papers prior to the actual meeting. So at least be 7 days on that, on open public hearing. But that's for the time the public has to review the budget. Because open public hearing is just for the public to come in and say, okay, I have questions about this and this. And that's one of the few nights we have to answer all their questions. We don't get a chance to put it on the agenda. We have
So
to
are
answer
you-
anything they answer about the budget.
So are you basically saying that it's not going to be possible to get this on the June agenda? We'll have to get on the July, and it was breaking up, but I think you said that it was okay to wait till July if we tell the county or something. I couldn't really hear what you were saying.
What I was saying is at our June meeting, we can approve our preliminary budget.
In June.
In June, yes.
Okay.
Once we approve our preliminary budget, then in July, we can approve our final budget. Because once we approve the preliminary budget, we'll just tell Gary to make copies, put it in the office. Also, we'll tell him to put it on the website. That way the public has the chance to go over it and formulate their questions. And the law requires us to do the open public hearing in a regular meeting. We cannot hold a special meeting for the open public hearing to approve the budget. That's why we're looking at a July meeting.
So is that the one that's gonna be in July,
Yes,
Johnny? Okay.
yes.
So the public meeting happens in July, and we can then finalize it at the July open public meeting?
We can
Yes,
vote
what-
on it, right?
Once we do an open public hearing, we let the public talk, we answer all their questions, then we close the open public hearing, and then we'll take a vote on the final budget.
Okay.
And that can only be done in a regular meeting, so right now we're looking at July as the earliest we can get that.
Yeah, all of that is assuming we do have a preliminary on June.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
All
did
in-
you say that staff needs to go get permission, that we're not going to be turning it in June, we're going to turn it in July?
They need to contact the county and the state to let them know we need an extension, which they'll grant us, as long as we contact them. If we don't tell
Okay.
them, they come after us. As long as we
Okay.
contact them, we're good.
So we need to ask for an extension.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So on the budgets that we have, number 1, 2, and 3, are there any other questions that you want to ask before we move on to our, rough draft of the bylaws?
I would like to
Mhm.
see budget number 4 brought to the June meeting.
Yes,
I was
Okay.
gonna ask the budget number 4 be sent to us prior to the June meeting also.
yes, as soon as possible.
Yes, please, as soon as possible, we
Okay.
can have budget number 4 also.
All right.
Okay? All right. This went really well. Anything else on the budget? Anybody? Okay, did you all receive the rough draft of the bylaws from Mr. Brakebill?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I gotta
Okay.
open it here.
I appreciate Mr. Brakebill taking the time to do it, but I feel like I need to actually edit it. And I didn't have time to edit it or look at it even.
Yeah, I didn't have time to look at it either.
So we might have to push that onto the June agenda. Unless somebody wants to talk about it. We appreciate you doing it, though.
Well, no, if we want this, we have a couple of weeks left before the June meeting, so we can put it on the June agenda.
Yeah, because you know we all have a copy. We can spend time looking at it.
Okay.
It was sent out when the agenda was sent out.
I'm sorry, what, Matthew?
The
Yeah.
bylaws were sent out when the agenda was sent out.
Yeah, right.
That's
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just didn't have time to look at it. It's crazy at school right now. We're wrapping up report cards and stuff.
We've been busier at home than we are at school.
It's
Yeah,
it's
the only-
a
the only-
challenge.
the only thing that I see in the bylaws, quite honestly, that I wish it were true, but unfortunately, I think we have to strike it, is on the bottom of page 9, section 9, director compensation.
Wait a minute. Oh, yes, right, I saw that
I
too.
did see
Like,
that
oh
too.
boy! But
Yes,
talk
we get
about,
0.
talk about something that's definitely not in the budget. So
That's
that,
right.
unfortunately, that whole section 9 will have to be.
Yes, you're right.
Oh, where did
We
that
get
come from?
0
Well,
compensation.
most boards get compensation for being on the boards. We are about the
Bingo.
only board that does not get any
Now I'm good.
compensation.
If I could comment on that?
Yeah.
What that actually comes from is there has been a law passed saying you're supposed to get $100 per meeting. But because we established our district prior to that law being passed, we were grandfathered out of it. So yes, we would have to vote that in. And I think if we tried to vote that in, we'd all get shot. So
Well,
I hope not.
we wouldn't want to vote it in because we know
No.
that we want everything to go to the district and the fire department. And we're all doing this. This is a labor of love for all of us, I'm sure.
that's where that comes from. There is a law that says we're supposed to get paid, but we're grandfathered in before that.
And
So-
and as it's written right now, in the draft, it can just stay that way. It doesn't mean, because it says authorized to receive, not have to.
Well, no,
Right.
it should be, we should
It
take
should
it
be
out.
stricken.
Yeah.
That
What?
should be stricken.
Yeah, the whole section 9 should be stricken.
Okay.
And 10,
There is no compensation.
9 and 10, yes.
no travel compensation.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
So are we all in agreement that we're going to put this on the June regular meeting?
With having items 9 and 10 stricken.
Yes, okay. Any other comments so far
No.
on the mission statement? Did everybody have a chance just to read the mission statement? Yeah, I thought it was really nicely worded.
I can't find it. I thought I had it. Oh, okay, it's on top. Duh.
Here, I'm going to read it because I really thought I liked how it sounded. The Morongo Valley Community Services District shall provide the best possible services to the community of Morongo Valley, which will include, but not limited to, parks, streetlights, and fire protection services in the most efficient and economical way possible. This will be done by remaining a small, innovative governmental entity operating on sound principles in a safe, professional, and courteous manner, and encouraging the community participation in its decision-making. I think that sounds really nice. So thanks, Jim, for putting that in.
Yeah, and forgive me, but where did you find that again?
The top of the bylaws has a mission statement.
Oh, at
The
the
mission
top,
statement
okay.
is on the bylaws.
All right, thank you. Oh, I see. Okay.
Ivan, do you have anything you want to add?
Do you want me to see if anybody put a Google form in?
No? Okay.
I'll go look at the Google form.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gail, it's all pretty brand new to me. I just wanted to be able to hear it and
Okay.
go from there.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you, though.
It's nice seeing your face here.
Uh-huh.
Thank you
Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming.
for having me.
You add nice decoration to our little visual here.
Well, this is the picture I was talking to you about the other day, right above.
What is it?
What is
I'll
it?
tell you guys. I'll tell you guys when you don't have so much on your plate right now. It's just
Okay.
a long story.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Guys, I do need your help though, all of you. I'm really at a loss. I've tried numerous times to get on the site to put my name on the ballot, and I cannot figure it out. So, Gail, Johnny, it seems like you got a really good tab on it. If you can, give me your email or even your phone number. So I need help from somebody because for some reason, every time I go into it, I can never find where I'm actually supposed to put my name and information. So,
Okay.
Okay, no problem. I have no problem giving my information.
Okay.
There are no more Google Forms. It's the same
Okay.
always have.
and Christina, Ellie says hi.
Oh, thank you. Awesome.
Who said
She
hi?
misses you. Ellie.
Oh, Ellie.
Well, maybe you don't want Ellie to be on TV, but she could wave to
Well,
me. That'd be
I
awesome.
told her, you know what? Come in and say hi if you want. She goes, no way. Catch the
Okay.
coronavirus somehow.
Yeah, well, we'll see you soon.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Director's comments. Johnny?
I'm only gonna comment on one thing, and that was last week we had a 11-acre fire.
What's that?
Last week we had an 11-acre fire here in Morongo.
Oh, yeah.
I would
Good
like
point,
to
Johnny.
say that all of our firefighters that worked that fire, thank you. That was amazing work. The work they put in was amazing. It was a very contentious fire. It took them over 2 days to totally get it put away, totally get it put out. I have a major concern that unfortunately our firefighters had no access to emergency funds. They didn't have money to buy water, to buy Gatorade, to buy food. And that's an issue that we need to address immediately. In no time should our firefighters have to worry they don't have access to emergency funds when an emergency comes down. That fire, it took planes, it took helicopters. We had BLM, we had state, we had county, we had everybody here. And our firefighters were asking for water and Gatorade. I bought them pizzas myself. There should be at no time that our firefighters do not have access to emergency funds for an emergency.
There's nothing in place for that scenario?
Can I answer that?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I'd like to
Okay.
answer that. Captain Gorder has a credit card for all strike teams and all fires and anything that's needed for a crew on scene, after the scene, or before the scene. So he was on that scene, so I don't know why they wouldn't have been able to have money to do something with it. Huh?
Because it was locked up and he couldn't get to it.
No. He has, sorry, Johnny. He has his own credit card.
It was locked up and he could not get to it. I know this for a fact because I was the one they asked to bring them water, to bring them Gatorade. They asked Matthew to bring them water because Captain Gordon did not have access to that credit card.
Well, I gave him his credit card, so I don't know how he wouldn't have it.
Brittany gave it to him the next day when she came in and opened the safe. That's how he got it.
Well, I don't know how Brittany can open the safe. She doesn't have the combination.
She did this weekend.
Well,
Jim,
I think
were
your
you-
information's
That's
wrong.
how that card got out. Chief Breakville was there. Ask him.
So, if we wanted to have our Captain Gorder take and have the credit card in his wallet at all times, would that be allowable? Wouldn't it be okay? Or does he have to keep it in a safe?
We did it in the past where our captains carried their credit cards. Remember, we still approved the bills. So if for any reason they were to misuse the card, we could say we're not paying that bill, and then we could revoke the privilege of having the card. But this weekend, the card was locked in the safe, and he could not get to it.
Well, Johnny, he's got bills in there for buying windshield wiper blades and buying stuff from Dylan, so I don't know how he didn't have it in the past, because he didn't buy wiper blades last week for the fire. He bought them before that.
Okay, guys, you know what? This is a personnel issue, and this is something that has to be solved in the office with Mr. Brakebill. Okay, Johnny?
It is.
It's a personnel issue, and we cannot solve it with you and Chief Yearsley back and forthing, because you have different information. So that's something that you should sit down with Mr. Yearsley and Mr. Brakebill. I know Mr. Brakebill was here for part of it, so let's solve that. Let's solve that when we away from the public hearing. We don't need to solve that in a public hearing. I do not believe you're correct either about them not having water and them not having Gatorade. So we'll solve that problem.
Is that why I had to go buy it, Gail? Because they had it?
Johnny?
Gail, you're telling
Johnny,
you're telling me
this is not Johnny. This is not the venue that we're going to use for this kind of commentary. This is something that has to do with personnel. You're coming from your point of view. The chief and Mr. Brakebill are coming from their point of view, and it has to be solved in the office, and it's a personnel issue. So we're not going to solve it here. Matthew, do you have anything to say?
No, not at this time.
Okay. Christina?
Well, I was told you didn't have it by Sydney.
We have a really nice yearbook at school, and it has a 2-page layout of the 1017 at 1017 earthquake shakeout.
Okay.
And there's a whole bunch of really cool pictures. So I'll be dropping off copies at the fire station. There's some for the firefighters, and then for the chiefs as well, and the board of directors. So at some time when we can pick them up, your yearbook will be there. But it turned out very nice, acknowledging the fire department, and we appreciate their help at the school when we ran that drill, because it was done very, very well.
Thanks, Christina.
Mm-hmm.
Lori, you got something?
No, nothing I can think of right now, except that, you know, God bless our fire department. I don't know what we would do without them. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that is a very important thing for the community to understand, that we really need this fire department. Like you say, Johnny, the whole valley could have gone up in smoke if they hadn't been here. And we need to make sure that they understand that there's a cost to having a fire department with paramedics. So I hope we can do that. And I'd also like to make a comment about all the people who are suffering from the coronavirus and losing their jobs. And I hope we all think of them and the people who are not getting justice in the streets, and really think deeply as if there's anything that we can do on a personal level to help our community and other communities as well. Ivan, you have your hand up.
First of all, I'd like to thank whoever the gentleman is that let me unmute myself and has kept me unmuted for the last 10 minutes. Thank you. I'm very, very determined to let you guys know that I'm not going to be an inconvenience to anyone. Chief, I want to thank you and your staff. I actually live off of Ramona Trail right next to Gale, and that fire gave me post-traumatic stress from the Sawtooth complex fire that we had over, I think it was about 10, 12 years ago. It was amazing. I was out working in my yard, looked up, saw smoke, and I swear not more than 2 hours, 3 hours later, it was had very much subsided. Your staff does an amazing job every time something comes up. So I just wanted to thank you from all of us.
Thanks. Mr. Breakville, do you have anything you want to add?
Gail, I do.
Oh, Matthew.
Census is coming up. Census is here. Census is now, and I really want to encourage everybody in Morongo Valley to definitely fill out the census. It will help us immensely. We need to count our population, and we need to know who's here. So
Right.
please, everybody, it will do nothing to help us. We need good numbers, accurate numbers to represent Morongo Valley. So go online, or when it comes to you in the mail, whatever it is, please be sure to fill out the census accurately and send it back in. And I also want to thank the guys that handled that situation. You know, it went from a nothing fire, from a telephone pole that was on fire to almost 11 acres, 10.9 acres in just a matter of minutes. And it was because it was well handled, and you know, that it didn't take out the canyon, it didn't go through the valley, it didn't go up the hill. So we were very fortunate, and we've got a great team that did a tremendous job. And yeah, I want to express my thanks and gratitude to them as well.
Lori.
I just want to speak to the census issue, Matt. All of the teachers at school put on their Google Classrooms a letter, notification, or whatever it is to the parents. So we're trying to reach as many people as we can that way.
Okay. I wanted to ask Matthew, if I fill something out online, is that all I have to do?
Yes.
Okay.
Hey, Gail,
Yeah,
do you have Ivan's information?
I do. I'll text it to you.
Okay, give it to me later so I can get back to him, please.
Sure.
Thanks,
Will
Johnny.
do.
Thank you. No problem, Ivan.
Okay, with that, I think we've finished this meeting, and our regular meeting is on the,
Oh, Gail, one quick
Yes.
thing.
Yeah.
We need to be looking into vandalism at the park. I understand we had a door that was almost broken into. We have some graffiti on one of our buildings that we need to look into and get that addressed if it's possible.
okay, you got it. Thanks, Johnny. Our meeting is on the 17th at 6 o'clock via Zoom, and we'll get the agenda out. We'll look at the budget again, and we'll look at the bylaws. Okay, thank you, everybody, for being here.
Are we
Do I have
going
a
to close
motion
session?
to adjourn?
Gail,
What?
are we
Yes.
going to close session? We have a closed session on the agenda. Before you adjourn, you have a closed session on the agenda.
Oh, yes, we do.
Oh.
I forgot about that.
You guys are
Got
done.
two.
Well,
Oh, my goodness.
I'm going to close the open session, and we'll go into closed session. And we'll
All right.
wait for Jim
Guys, have a
to
good night.
take us in there. Yeah, thanks a lot, Ivan.
Thank you, Ivan.
Thank you, guys.
So, Jim, are we ready?
Just a
I
minute.
Okay.
Is Gary going to be in that meeting?
It's about the
MOU
MOU.
has to be there.
Yeah, I'll text you in a little while, John.
All right, sounds good. I'll see you in the closed session.
All right, you're in closed session.
Okay. Do I have to push join?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
She needs to push the join button. There she is.
Here we are. Ta-da!
We're back.
All right, so the report out of closed session is that we are gonna meet again on the 10th for another closed session to do the MOU. And are there any other comments that need to be made? Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Who's gonna second it?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you all very much. Meeting closed.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Gary.